baseball, meaningful pennant race baseball in Boston and at Camden Yards this week. Luke Jones and I will be on the scene for all of that social media-wise, as well as bringing some guests on from the Red Sox, as well as Orioles insiders and national baseball folks. But, of course, the NFL season underway on Sunday. The Ravens now 1-0 and off to Cleveland this weekend. This guy covers the National Football League for Omnisport, as well as at the sportingnews.com website. He is the defending champion on this program. He is Ron Clements, and you can follow his journey on Twitter at Ron_Clements. That's CLEMENTS. A wild and woolly week one. Now, Ron, I was at the Ravens game up in the upper deck getting toasted by the sun. It was a beautiful day, and I know many of you sit around and watch multiple screens. I got some Red Zone channel at the end of the day. The one thing I took out of week one is if you have a kicker that stinks, you're in big trouble. Shouldn't be news in the NFL, but it becomes more and more punitive when you miss kicks.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I saw a couple NFL-related tweets yesterday that simply just said, like, college kickers, man. And if you're a Vikings fan, you got to think that they plucked Blair Welsh off an FCS team. His confidence is shot since that playoff game last year.
Well, for all of the kickers in our game, Tucker makes 3 kicks, gets credited with 2. Carpenter misses the only kick he had, and it winds up being a real difference maker at the end of the game, the 3 points. Well, you see what happens with Arizona. There were kickers in that Detroit and Indianapolis game, sort of back and forth, that were the difference makers. We kind of push them off to the corner and say they're just a kicker, and I know from fantasy you want the right one, but you certainly want the right one with the game on the line. It's the difference between being 0-1 or 1-0 for several teams.
Oh, definitely. And, there's one kicker who missed a field goal that I'm not really going to fault for missing that, and that was Will Lutz, because that was like a 61-yard attempt that just came up a little short. But, the kickers yesterday really struggled. And in a week where if you count the Thursday night game, of the 14 games played so far, all but 3 were decided by less than 1 score, and 6 of those were decided by 2 points or less, including 4 one-point games in week 1 for the first time in NFL history. So the kicking game, definitely a huge factor, not necessarily for the right reasons.
Well, we're trying to figure out the good teams and the bad teams. I mean, obviously Carolina, they have to carry 0-1 around for 10 days. Arizona, home loss, they have to carry that around. Dallas, not the kind of start you wanted to have. But they're still good teams. And I look at Arizona, and I thought they were going to pull that game out. I thought Carolina would struggle in Denver, and they did. But these are the teams we're expecting to be in the playoffs in January, having rocky starts.
Yeah, and I think Bill Belichick just simply solidified himself last night as the best coach in the NFL. And, I think Vince Lombardi is probably regarded still as the best NFL coach of all time. His name's on the trophy. But, man, what a job Bill Belichick has done. And he might be approaching that best coach ever territory. And I realize the Patriots and Belichick get this bad rap. They're cheaters, the Spygate stuff, the Deflategate, blah, blah, blah. But,
well, they are. You
No.
must admit that they cheat, right? You will admit that or you won't?
Yes, there is evidence that they have broken rules. That said, Belichick still deserves his due. When you win a game against, like you said, a very good Arizona Cardinals team that has Super Bowl aspirations, you win that game on the road without your starting quarterback, without the best tight end in the NFL, and without your one of your starting pass rushers in Rob Ninkovich, you go in and you still win that game. I don't think anybody thought that game would even be close and that Arizona would just run away with it. But
it just makes me hate him even more, Ron.
Master. And he out-coached a 2-time Coach of the Year.
Well, we're trying to figure out here in Baltimore just what we have, right? I mean, it's clear New England's going to be formidable and even more formidable when they get back their tight end, when they get back their quarterback. For the Ravens, they win a game. No one here is going to be doing heel clicks or comparing this team to any of our Super Bowl winners yet. But there were a lot of signs of life. Lots of guys catching balls, Flacco doing the right thing. Offensive line could be better, but starting young players. And defensively, the Ravens flew to the ball against a speed quarterback.
Yeah, it's kind of really hard to judge the Ravens off yesterday because the Bills had one of the historically bad offensive games ever. I mean, that was pretty brutal.
Well, somebody said it was the least amount of yardage they've had in a decade in Buffalo, and that's saying something because they haven't had much in Buffalo the last decade.
Right. And so it's really hard to judge the Ravens off that win. And the Ravens kind of get a pass next week, too, because the Browns just look terrible against the Eagles. That offense just looked completely inept. The offensive line for Cleveland is atrocious still, which you wouldn't think so because they got a 9-time Pro Bowler at left tackle in Joe Thomas, future Hall of Famer. But Baltimore's defense yesterday was impressive. I think a lot of people are high on Tyrod Taylor. I know he was a popular fantasy pick this year, and those people who have him on their fantasy teams were definitely disappointed yesterday. So I think Baltimore, until they play a team with a quality offense, it's going to be kind of hard to judge how good they really are. As you know, because we talked about this before, Baltimore is kind of one, even though they're coming off a 5-win season, they were obliterated by injuries last year, and Baltimore was kind of one of my sleeper NFL teams this year.
Well, if Pitta is back the way he is, Wallace looks like it's working out nicely. Steve Smith's running around now as a possession receiver. They're putting him in the slots, creating all sorts of mismatches. They can run the ball a little bit. There's potential in this. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, it was a 13-7 victory over a team that's probably not making the playoffs, that isn't very good, that's pretty banged up, and they're going to have their own problems on Thursday night against the Jets up in Buffalo too. But the Ravens now see Cleveland. They're going to see Jacksonville next week. These games they're supposed to win. You're looking up and thinking they might be able to be 4-0 in early October, but probably not having beat any team that would be considered a lock to make the playoffs, and that would include the Oakland Raiders in Week 4.
Well, I don't know about the Raiders. The Raiders are actually my pick to win the AFC West, and I think Khalil Mack is going to make a run for Defensive Player of the Year. So that one will be tough. Jacksonville can put up some points. That Jacksonville offense we saw yesterday against Green Bay's defense, which is supposed to be improved. Jacksonville can put up points. I've never really been a Blake Bortles fan, but I'm starting to come around because with the two Allens, Hurd and Robinson, and TJ Yeldon running the ball fairly well, although in spurts yesterday, the Packers really shut down Jacksonville's run game. Jacksonville's offense will be a pretty good test of that Ravens defense.
For everybody's fan bases that have lost, I mean, half the league has lost a game. They don't feel so good about it. The worst loss for me has got to be the Chargers and everything they've been through in the offseason and having really won that football game in Kansas City and felt like it was over and they had it won and to lose it. Same thing for New Orleans, who, shoulda, coulda, woulda put away Oakland. Those are two bad feelings. In San Diego, it's even worse with the injury.
Yeah, and the Lions too. That they won that game, but that was another team that was up 21-3. The Chargers game, though, that they had a 24-3 lead early in the third quarter, and the way that game was going, Melvin Gordon didn't score a touchdown at all last year. And you're thinking, oh man, this is the Chargers team that they expected to have last year when they were a sheet pick to win the AFC West and go to the playoffs. And then I think Keenan Allen getting hurt right before halftime, that just sucked all the air out of that team, and they came out of the second for the second half just totally flat. And that was a very shocking loss. But
nothing sexy about Kansas City, but they win. I mean, every year you look up and Andy Reid's got that team, and Alex Smith, he's not sexy either, but all he does is win.
Yeah, I think if you're going to talk about like vanilla quarterbacks in the NFL, you probably have a picture of Alex Smith right next to it. But look at the guy's track record. Now, is he a Hall of Fame guy as the number one overall pick back in 2005, taken ahead of Aaron Rodgers? Probably not. But, he's been serviceable. He takes care of the ball. He doesn't lose games. That's what Alex Smith does. Like you said, is he sexy? No. But the guy can get the job done, and that's all Andy Reid has asked him to do. And how about Spencer Ware coming up for them big yesterday?
Houston, I haven't talked about this game all week long, but, Houston with Osweiler, for all they went through and the money they spent and the changes they've made in that offense, nice look for them to start the season with a victory.
It was, and it was good to see J.J. Watt actually on the field and Jadeveon Clowney making plays. But also, Osweiler, I think, kind of like with what the Chiefs asked Alex Smith to do. Bill O'Brien's not asking Brock Osweiler to win games. He's just asking him to, hey, keep us afloat. We've got really good wide receivers. You got one of the best in DeAndre Hopkins. So just get the ball to those guys, let them make plays, and don't turn the ball over. Just take care of the ball. And that's what Osweiler did. And kind of a funny note on there yesterday with the Bears. The Bears are still the only team in the NFL that has never beaten the Houston Texans.
Well, it's only been a little over a decade, right? Decade and a half. And they only get together every once in a while, cross-conference, but they're going to have to wait 4 more years now.
Right.
He is Ron Clements at Sporting News as well as at Omnisport. You can follow his journey out on Twitter, Ron_Clements. That's CLEMENT. Last but not least, the Philadelphia-Minnesota trade and obviously both of them with happy week ones. But Philadelphia with Carson Wentz and getting him in there and having him play, especially against a Cleveland team, and getting that level of confidence for a kid from North Dakota State, that's going to bode well for the Eagles. I was in Philadelphia a couple times last week for Springsteen. A lot of folks thought they were a 2-14 team waiting to happen this year. Certainly didn't look that way in week one. They look competitive.
I think we talked about this maybe before the draft, but I have been a Carson Wentz fan ever since I saw him practicing at the Senior Bowl. And on like day 2 of practices at the Senior Bowl, he is correcting Scott Linehan on formations and personnel setup where they're supposed to be. On day 2 of the offense, he's pointing out mistakes made by the offensive coordinator. That, to me, showed that Carson Wentz had the mental capacity to play quarterback in the NFL. Everybody knows he already had the physical skills. He's got the size, he's got the arm strength. I've been a Carson Wentz fan since then, since January, and he's done nothing since then to change my mind. I've said Carson Wentz is the real deal, and I think he went out and proved that yesterday, especially with that first drive, going 4 or 5 on the opening drive. First ever NFL game, his opening series, he goes 4 or 5, and the only incompletion was a drop that was put right in the receiver's hands.
He is Ron Clements, Ron_Clements. You can follow him on the sport as well as Sporting News. Ron, always great having you on, man. It's good to have a little NFL. We got these baseball games going on all week. We got a pennant race going on. It's good times in Baltimore. I've been doing 25 years of radio here. I can't remember any Septembers where it's as active as it is this month for hope for the local fans here.
Well, enjoy it. Not all regions are that fortunate.
They don't have this in Philadelphia, I promise you that.
Right.
And we hope they don't have it in Pittsburgh. Hey, great having you on, Ron. He is Ron Clements joining us here from Omnisport and Sporting News. Hey, you can find us out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from wherever you are. Our morning newspaper reaches your email inbox at 7 a.m. every morning. That's brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. You can always email me or find me anywhere social media is. That's nasty@WNST.net. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. We stream live now on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube on our WNSTV channel as we make the sausage, as they say. Next week, we have Eric Weddle out as well as Eric Weddle's Beard, which you can follow on Twitter as well. Tuesday night, we'll be at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero. Appreciate Steve and all the folks up there for all they've done for the registry. And appreciate Eric Weddle wanting to come out and meet some Ravens fans. I think Hartford County as well as all the counties, Carroll, Baltimore, everybody, Anne Arundel County, they're all going to fall in love with Eric Weddle. I'm looking forward to spending an evening chatting with him about his life experiences and his football and his passions, as well as our passion to save lives on the Bone Marrow Registry via There Goes My Hero. So come on out, get swabbed. Next Tuesday night, Eric Weddle joins us in Aberdeen at Adams Jeep. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Thanks so much, Ron. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you, bud. Bye-bye.